Grab a hold of the first great command, then take the second one in your hand. Now place them on your head and bless your neighbor.
Welcome back to Blacks in the Scriptures. I'm Cardon Ellis.
And I'm Marvin Perkins.
And this podcast is going to be off the hizzy.
This is great. We're great to have you back. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for sharing. From our first video that we've launched, we've already had some pretty incredible things taking place, and it's already helping people all around the country. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for posting, for liking, and for subscribing as well.
Hey, so you said you got another coordinator out of this.
You know something? It's amazing. Some guy saw back in Ohio, he saw this video and he said, we have to have something like that back here because we are constantly seeing African Americans come into the church and then they're there for 3 to 6 months and then they leave.
We could get LeBron. Ohio.
Absolutely.
Cleveland, right? Is that the right state?
Yes, the right state.
I don't follow enough sports, but that would be awesome. You know,
we'll
I just saw him in the preview for Trainwreck and it was hilarious.
Excellent. We'll work on that.
He watches Downton Abbey.
Whatever that is. I have no idea. Okay.
So tell us. He reached out to you? He contacted you? Or?
Well, yeah, he was frustrated because he was thinking we see so many African Americans join the church and then they leave and they can't figure out what it is. And I know exactly what it is. You know, this issue, if you don't talk to African Americans about it, they're going to leave at some point. The few that stay are somewhat miraculous. So he's gone through all of the videos already, our training videos, should I say our course material, and he'll receive his training, his media training kit tonight, and we'll have our conference call after he finishes that just to shore up the rest of his training.
So what do the coordinators do? Do they just actively go out and, I've been involved with you for about a year now, but it's always been on the side of media production. Right. I've never been, the two conferences you've invited me to that have been, actually only invited me to one, Marvin, but I'm going to fake for our studio audience.
There's a reason
of
for
two
that,
people
Carl.
So anyway, I've only been, I haven't been able to do any of the other ones that aren't basically local. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
And so I've never met any coordinators outside of you and your family and the 3 or 4 that we have here that I already know. Okay. Yeah. So when I envision a coordinator, I just think of like an agent in the movie industry, just fielding all these different phone calls and offers. And I think they're really big deals.
That kind of takes me back to when I first came to California. And I was working for this store that's now out of business called Zodi's. And they said, well, the Mormons are coming in to do inventory. And it's like, oh, I got to stay behind because I want to see what a Mormon looks like, And I was like, I was so anxious. The store closed and I'm still hanging out because I've got to see these Mormons. And so it reminds me of your story trying to see a coordinator. But the coordinators do a lot. So Anthony, you saw the African American Pioneers booklet that was handed out at the fireside.
Was great. Yes.
Tremendous. He and his wife pay for that out of their own pockets, and his wife is not a member of the church, and they actually pay for that out of their pockets. Whenever we're doing a fireside, we were just down doing a community event and fireside in Houston, which was absolutely incredible. You missed a really good one. But he will publish 200-300 of those and then ship them on down so we can have those just to pass out to everybody who comes in. So we'll be in Oakland at the end of the month, and he's already sent those to me so that we can actually take them and pass them out. So that's one. We have some that are internet specialists, and they work the internet, do blogs and hosting chat groups. We have those that are holding classes. I mean, they're doing everything. But remember, the bottom line is this is a group of people that are committed to keep these truths that they were so impacted by moving forward because they know they can help other people. So,
okay.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff.
You guys are cool. You officially get the seal of approval from the plethora of podcast crew that we have here.
I love
All 5 of us.
They all, they all love you.
They all love you. So a ton went on today. I don't even have to cheat and look at my notes.
Nice.
But I came pretty prepared because fortunately you shortened it to only about 12 things. But I was looking at the link about, let's talk about the Utah filmmakers. We're going to talk about some Utah filmmakers, two African American brothers that are going to be making a film about being part of the 2%. And then they should title it the 1% and see if they can't fool some Occupy Wall Street people into giving them funding or something like that. Maybe just like, get a grant or two,
Yeah, why not?
But anyway, we'll talk about the Utah filmmakers, your new coordinators, and dang it, I do have to cheat.
That's okay. That's what notes are
There
for.
was a robbery attempt. That's kind of cool. All right. And then the 30-year inactive brother that came back.
sister
That came back. And response to somebody who shared our last podcast link.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk? What do you want to take first?
Let's first let's talk about those filmmakers. I mean, after all, they're boycotting the Oscars right now. How do you feel about that? Tell me before we start. How do you feel about that?
You know something? I've heard African American. I think it was Jada Pinkett Smith call for African Americans to boycott the Oscars, and I thought, no. Ask for everybody to boycott the Oscars, okay? Because, again, it's not a race issue. We want equality across the board. There are many African Americans. There are many Latinos, Caucasians, Asians, Polynesians, Indians, the works that support the cause and realize there needs to be some equality there. And so I think they would have rallied to that call as well. And it would have been a more powerful statement to say, not just African Americans boycott this, everybody who thinks it's unfair and needs a change, let's boycott together. And they would have had a lot standing with them. You know what kind of reminds me of? Remember the 3 brothers, the 2 brothers that were in the Olympics?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, most people...
One of my favorite images of all time.
Yeah, you know what? It can be even more favorite because the Caucasian guy was an Australian guy. And very few people know his incredibly powerful story. He was the one that gave them the gloves and suggested that they do that.
Really?
And so he was with them, and then he was, let's just say, kept from prospering when he got home. And they told him, if you denounce those guys, we'll allow you to live a good life and have your riches and everything else. And he said, no, I will not. And he lived a life of poverty and just suffered as a result of standing with those guys. And so there are people that will stand together. You just have to give them the opportunity, the invitation. So I think that was a miss on Jada's part.
Okay, we're going to have to post this link. I can't remember the athlete's name, but he was the white guy that was in the second place, I think it was.
The Caucasian guy?
Yeah, you're right. The Caucasian guy that was in the Australian, the Aussie.
Yeah, the Australian.
That was in the...
and that's how they referred to him in the Bible, their land of origin, where they come from. The Ethiopian, the Australian. Yes.
And Ham and Shem gave birth to the Aussies. I'm probably mixing them all up.
Yeah, that's not accurate. But,
but keep going, right? Anyway, I didn't know he was the one that gave him the glove, but we have got to post a link to the tribute that the Young Turks did that you had sent me to him.
We'll post it, absolutely.
Yeah, that guy, it took Australia 30 years to roll back that.
Isn't that something?
It took them 30 years, and he sacrificed a lot. But I felt it when I was watching that. When I was watching that tribute, I felt it. So we're gonna post a link. You got to watch it.
It's incredible. That 30 years is more of a testament. It's less about Australia to me and more about his resolve to stand with them and say, no, I don't care about the riches. I care about what is right, and I will live like this in order to just, incredible story he is.
Yeah, I watched that link, and I just thought he got demoted from being an Olympic athlete to being on the commission to being like a high school gym teacher or something, and they got fired from that even. Yeah. That is sacrifice. So filmmakers in Utah, they reached out to you.
Yes, so one of the cool things about this story, and it actually ties into one of the other things on there, there's a sister that had some pretty incredible missionary experiences on her way to the church.
Okay.
But it was actually her brother. Her brother is not a member of the church. He's one of these filmmakers doing a story on 2%, and that Utah is the only state in the West that only has less than 2% African American population.
It's because they don't have as many babies.
A major city, I should say.
As all the white Mormon families in Utah that are making like 13 kids, 14 kids, man, they're breeding like rabbits in that state.
Okay, that's Cardon, guys, not me. But anyway, they're doing this film about 2%, and I think it's going to be great. However, what was interesting is that the filmmakers had reached out and said we'd love to utilize you in this film.
Okay.
And I first had to make sure it was a film that was going to portray the church in a positive light and not portray the church in a negative light in any way, shape, or form.
That's fair.
And never want to be a part of any of that. But they said, okay, this is good. I said, okay, so I agreed. And they said, okay, I got a call back a few days later that said, you know what, somebody wanted to review the list, because there's some support coming from the church, and they wanted to see the list of people who were involved in that. And when they got to your name, they said, no, if that guy's a part of it, we won't be part of it.
No, really?
Isn't that something?
It's like McCarthyism. You got blacklisted.
You know something, and
you got African American listed. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I got a call back, and they said, they told me that, and they were sad about it. I said, it's okay. It's no big deal.
But why?
Well, that's what I was curious. I was curious if they were going to ask the question why, and they didn't. But then I got a call back, and they said, hold on, we're really curious. Why would they not? And I said, I'm a guy that speaks the truth, and I speak those truths because I'm more afraid of the Lord than I am any man on this earth. And they know that I'll speak the truth. And if you've got this film that's widely publicized, and this guy is talking these truths and spreading these truths, I mean, he's going to speak the truth regardless of what it is. And so, but it was interesting as they went on. They said they're going to fight it because this is wrong. They shouldn't be censored like this. And, this is, So then they got upset, and it's like, why are you scared of this one little guy,
Well, not getting funding isn't censorship, but it's just disappointment.
Well, I wouldn't quite call it censorship, but the fact that they were going to pull their support if there was too much truth.
So I'm podcasting with a renegade. Oh, yeah.
You know what? But you got to keep in mind, that was just the individual that they were dealing with. That doesn't represent the whole church.
It could have just been his personal bias.
It could have been. And, the statement that he made, though, the guy that he was speaking to, and the director said, I don't quite understand his statement. He says, but we still believe that our truth is the real truth.
Weird. What's that supposed to mean?
Well, basically, some people still believe that Brigham Young was right by restricting the priesthood and all the things that were taught, even though the church and the leaders have come out in full support that all of that was wrong. Didn't you have a letter from Gordon B. Hinckley
saying carte blanche access to all I got in terms of the historical data or something like that?
Well, we have written permission from the church to use the church's copyrighted material in the Blacks in the Scriptures DVD series. So that written permission is there. I do have letters from President Hinckley and President Monson, but that's nothing I like to share with people because I don't want them believing because the leaders support what we do. We want them believing because they've studied the scriptures, they're got on their knees, and they got a confirmation from the Spirit of what is true. That's the way a true testimony is built, and we don't want to handicap anybody by using the support that we have from the church. We don't talk about that at all.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, this is the most we've actually talked about that publicly right here.
You saw it here first.
An exclusive. Yeah,
Okay. So these guys reach out to you. We're gonna see where that goes. You talk
that's
about
done.
That's
That's
done.
done.
Oh, that's done.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
You got to tell me about this woman that's 30 years inactive but comes back.
Oh, you know what? It's incredible. So a lot of people think that this is an African American issue or an African issue. It's not. It's a doctrinal issue. And so we were doing a fireside in San Diego, and it was a rare Saturday fireside, and I only got the report afterwards. Well, she stood up during the Q&A and said something, but one of our coordinators reported she bore a testimony on Sunday, and she said that this is my first time in 30 years. I'm sorry, my second time in 30 some odd years stepping into an LDS church.
Wow.
The first time was last night when I saw a fireside, given by Marvin Perkins on Blacks in the Scriptures. I left the church in 1978 when the change was made because, look, you told us this and this and this. We were taught all of our lives and our parents' lives that this was the case, and then we turn around and give priesthood with no explanation as to, why we are now doing this and no clarification.
interesting.
And so
Okay.
she just like, I am out of here. And she left. And for 30 years, 30 plus years, she'd been seeking answers. She'd been seeking something to help her understand how we could go from such an extreme. How could we do this? And she got answers that night, and that brought her right back to church the next day. So very active member right now. It's amazing how scriptural truths can help build and strengthen the testimony and get them right back to where they need to be.
Wow. So these conferences are really working. We talked earlier and then we got distracted upon the not we, I should say I
Yeah,
got
pretty
distracted.
much it was you.
Yeah. It seems like this story parallels the story of the Cleveland, Ohio coordinator you have now.
Oh, well, it's actually Cincinnati.
Oh, Cincinnati. Sorry.
Yeah, but not a full coordinator at this point. He's still going through the training process, but it was tremendous. I mean, this first podcast that we launched, we got a call the very next day after we posted it. And well, not a call, but he reached out to a call from the website to our message line, and he said, we need this in our area. He's tired of seeing African Americans come into the church and not come back. They stay 3 months and then they're gone. They stay 6 months and then they're gone, and he's tired of seeing that. We got to do something about it. And so he's gone through the videos already, and we are excited to have him on board. We actually ship him training material tonight, and he'll go through the training process. We'll make sure, because we have to make sure that all of us are on the same page, one heart, one mind, one spirit, working in sync, and we should be getting him up and going within the next couple of weeks.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so these podcasts are already working. Thank you for all your great efforts.
Oh. Well, you are welcome. So talk to me about, I was really interested about the story of Toya and Rachel.
Oh, yeah, two great stories. All right, so let's do Toya first.
Toya, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, because
hi, Toya, if you're watching. You're cool.
Yeah, Toya had some. Her brother is actually one of the producers, the filmmakers on 2%, on the 2% project.
Great.
Right, so
we'll post a link.
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting is a lot of times you'll hear missionaries say, somebody's not progressing, and so they just kind of drop them, so to speak, and because they're not progressing. And Toya was having this issue, and she was having this issue with the African American issue as well. But she, once she found us, I was able to work with her directly and say, hey, look, this is your journey. You can take as long as you want. And she did. She took about 5 years, if I have my number correct. Okay. But it was tremendous because she had so many incredible spiritual experiences. I mean, one of them was, and Toya, don't hate me for this, but one of them was, Lord, if this is truly your church, I've never seen an African-American missionary sending, I want to see an African American missionary. The very next day, new missionaries in the area come knocks on her door, sister companionship, and one of them's African American.
Really?
And it's like, oh man.
Be careful what you ask for.
No, but she has some of the most incredible spiritual experience. I mean, she went out to get her husband's favorite soda or beverage or something, and they didn't have it. And so she went to the manager and talked to him in the back, and then they looked through the back, through the thing for her. And as they were walking through the back, he just turned around and said, I feel the need to say something to you. Turns out this African-American guy was also a member of the church and started talking to her about the gospel and everything, and she was able to share her experience. And it's like, I mean, she's had some incredible experiences. And so, my message to anybody, it's their journey. Go with them on their journey. Their journey does not have to go at your pace. And I'm talking missionaries or members trying to help somebody along. And so she's got a beautiful family, and she's progressing in the gospel beautifully. And it's all because she wasn't forced, to go at somebody else's pace. And some great experiences to talk about it. Now, Rachel's situation is different. Rachel...
This ain't going to be depressing, right? Like the second act of... This ain't the Empire Strikes Back, is it? Okay.
Rachel's experience. Rachel was one of our very first coordinators when we got started back in 2009. And she's one of our absolute best as well. She does this really well. Her classes were just tremendous. But one day she had a few over, and a couple, an African-American couple that were members of the church. And after they went through the first video, they were upset. Everybody else was ecstatic and happy about what they were receiving. Okay. But they were upset, and they were like, you shouldn't be doing this, and stormed out. They just kind of left. And they were really angry about it. And, gave her a little earful on the way out. But... that same couple came back a few months later, and it's like, we realize why you're doing this, and we see the importance. And they went through the whole class and really built their testimony. And see, the beautiful thing about truth is that once you see it, you can't get it out of your system. You can't get it out of your mind. You can't unlearn or unsee or unhear the truth. And then... some people are in a place where they can receive it, but not everybody's in the same place. Some people are going to wrestle with it, but it's their job to wrestle with it, and that's exactly what we want to happen. If you're in a place where you need to wrestle with the truth, wrestle with it. The Lord He'll wrestle with you. He'll help you along, and they helped this couple along, and they came back, and they were big supporters of the program. And so it changes people. It really does. And sometimes it's not always the same reaction up front, but it'll stay with you and work on you. And if you allow that seed to be fertilized and to grow, it'll grow into something quite beautiful.
Okay, so if you're watching, you got any questions, just reach out. You might be one of these next cool stories on a podcast. Speaking of which, I remember I wrote a note that we need a response to someone who shared our podcast link.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to read this. Thank you so much for this link to this podcast. Ask the Sunday school and young women's teachers of my youth how I felt about blacks and the priesthood. So many questions they couldn't answer. ... I've continued to ponder and study this subject through my life. June 8th, 1978 was a very happy day in my life. So there's your response.
Very cool.
That was from you to them, or was that from them to you?
That was from them to the person who posted it.
Okay, I could have done a better job on that then.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm going at my own pace.
but that's pretty typical there, though. That's pretty typical. Everybody is affected by it, and very few are prepared to answer the question. So when they receive something that is helpful, that helps them, they're generally responsive like that. So it's been great.
Okay, so for any of you out there that question whether or not this is done live, there is your answer. Okay. Now, so usually there's about 25 things that Marvin has done and that the African American Outreach Program has accomplished in the week. And they send me these lists so we can go over them before the show and we can prep ourselves for what we're going to talk about. Of course, we forget everything as soon as it all starts. and we even wonder why we do it. But one of the reasons I go over everything is because it's so hilarious. In fact, if you can see here, we might even zoom in later. Here's the 11 things we were going to talk about. We only got to about 4 or 5 of them.
I had to shorten the list for Cardon.
Yeah, but number 5, it just says Philadelphia, parentheses, East Coast.
Oh.
So Philadelphia is indeed on the East Coast. I congratulate your geographic skills.
Thank you.
You know, so we got to talk about Philadelphia. Whatever East Coast means, obviously it means a lot to you. And then it sounds like something intriguing went down in New Orleans.
Ooh.
Oh, so Philadelphia
Absolutely.
and New Orleans, we are getting all the good cooking. We're getting the cheesesteaks. And Philly cheesesteak. Yeah, there we are. And then, is that what it's called? Whatever that amazing sandwich is that you guys make up there.
That's it.
And then I've had some cool. The only time I've ever enjoyed catfish was in New Orleans.
It's great.
Yeah, catfish is nasty anywhere else, but somehow in New Orleans they make it work. So.
Well, excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, keep going. Tell me about Philadelphia.
Well, Philadelphia was great. My wife and I took our kids on an East Coast vacation in the summer. And
so you were there on purpose?
On purpose.
Oh, okay,
All right.
cool.
So
Wow.
First stop was Niagara Falls to visit family, and then we did, Kirtland, Ohio, and then we did, Youngstown where we have family, and Pittsburgh, and then in D.C. where we got a White House tour. One of my buddies works Secret Service, and so we had the White House tour and hung with friends there. And then our next stop was Philadelphia. Now, we had prayed earlier about where we would stop to do missionary work, so we do missionary work at all of those stops, but we prayed about where it would be concentrated. And so it was Philadelphia. So we homeschool our kids, so we also, wanted to see the Liberty Bell and all the other historic sites that are there. So we prayed about where to go. Lord said Philadelphia. And then once we got to Philadelphia, we prayed about which ward to attend, and he directed us to a ward. And what was interesting was as soon as we walked in the door, we saw the parents of good friends of ours here in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
And so we knew we were in the right place.
Okay.
And then once we walked into the chapel, we saw, I think, 4 or 6, I think it was either 2 to 3 sets of missionaries. So we knew, again, second confirmation that we're in the right place. A lot of missionary work can go on here. And so what I generally do is go up and introduce myself to the missionaries. And I ask them, how's the work going? And ask them, do they get questions about the priesthood restriction? Now, what you'll find very funny is every last one of them lied to us at first. Seriously. And it blows me away.
In Philadelphia, come on, man.
No, it doesn't matter where they are. No matter where they are. It could be California, Philadelphia, Utah.
But my dad
Texas.
served in Detroit, Michigan, all right? I mean, he's obviously getting more questions there than you are in,
But for some
Mesa,
reason,
Arizona.
For some reason, we always have to ask them twice. Because the first time we ask them, they said, no, we don't get the question. And it's like, yeah, well, I know you're getting the question. So, no one's asking you about in our church and race or 2 Nephi 5:21 or skin color or any of the priesthood restriction. Oh, yeah, 1 or 2. And then it's
1 or 2 before church this morning.
And so I asked them, I said, well, I generally ask them, well, how do you handle it? And they tell me, and I said, well, what would you think if I told you that all the answers you want are right there in your scriptures and I can help show those to you? And then they start to get a little bit excited.
Okay.
So we had 6 of them, and we had arranged after sacrament to go take a room and just kind of go through the scriptures. And so we're in this room, and I give my little disclaimers like, okay, we're going to go through scriptures, have some fun and everything else, but, don't believe what I have to say. Just study the scriptures, pray about it, get your own truth. And so they're excited. 5 of them are.
And who was the holdout? Who's the holdout?
Well, there's this one that was sitting next to me, and we're kind of going
white
through
knuckling
this.
it. Just,
oh, man, it was something else. And so...
they're Caucasian knuckling it, sorry. Trying to be politically correct here.
That's Cardon, guys. All right, but anyway, the one next to me, he just got up and said, I'll be back. All right, and so as we started to get into the lesson and everything, I'm not sure where he went, but he probably had somewhere to go. he came back 5 minutes later as we are, just into this, just assigning the scriptures and going to him. And he says, "You have to stop this right now. Our mission president said he doesn't want you teaching us."
Okay.
I was shocked. I was just shocked. And so was every other missionary in that room.
Really?
They were shocked and disappointed because they needed those answers, and this guy's just stood in the way.
Yeah.
And
Who was this kid? Guaranteed he was from Draper, Utah. No, sorry, I got friends at Draper.
He thought he was doing what was right.
Okay.
And so, again, he thought he was doing what was right. But I was in such shock that I couldn't say anything. And his nervousness caused him to keep talking. Well, he says, we don't know you, and you don't have the authority, and he doesn't want you to teach us. And so he said, "Well, do you want to talk to our mission president?" And that's my first words. "Oh, yeah, I'd love to talk to him." And so, he got him on the phone, and I start talking to him, or trying to talk to him. And a conversation wasn't going very well, but I hung in there.
What was his beef like?
Well, think about it. If you're a mission president, some stranger out of nowhere just stops in and wants to teach the missionaries. As a mission president, you're responsible for these missionaries. And so we don't know who this guy is. And this is exactly what the mission president said. He's like, we don't know who you are, and you just want to come in and stop in and, and I'm thinking, well, we just had the sacrament together. I've got my family with me.
Can't be too weird.
One of the members of the bishopric are good friends of ours. I mean, so we just, and we're going through scriptures.
Well, yeah, but also, don't you just say, "Are you in front of a computer? Can you go to blacksinthescriptures.com?"
No. But when he said, "We don't know who you are," I said, "If you want to know who I am, you can just Google my name." And and he said, "What's your name again?" I said, "Marvin Perkins." And so he said, "Yeah, but I don't want you teaching them." I'll tell you what, I said, "Well, President, can you do at least one thing for me after we end this conversation?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "Can you pray about it?" And he said, "Well, why don't you just talk to my counselor? My counselor will be there in a minute." And so his counselor came in there, and we talked. He excused the missionaries, and he was just trying to fulfill the command that he had just received. There wasn't any talking about this. And it was one of those where let's just say there was no brotherly love in the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, okay.
And we kind of ended that conversation with, "Well, fine."
Well, fine.
Well, thank you. And it's like, "Thank you." And so I get up and I open the door, and I'm really kind of bothered because here I am, a servant of the Lord, but anyway, I'm a child of God, and I'm here and I'm only trying to help these guys, and I'm being treated like I'm somebody that's doing something bad, and I just wanted to get out of there. So I just went and got my wife, and I said, "Look, let's go." She said, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And I said, "We'll talk about it in the car." I looked in. I said, "I'll grab the one daughter who's in here, and would you go grab the other one?" But the primary teacher made me stay until it was over because everybody was engaged. So we stayed. And then once we came out, everybody was ready to go. And then that counselor, he said, "Can I have a word with you?"
Okay.
The fleshy part of me didn't want to have a word with him. I was upset the way I was treated. Yeah. It's like, I don't need this. I'm trying to help you. I can continue my vacation. And but the servant in me said, yeah. And so we went to the side, and he said, "The mission president called, and he would like you to teach the missionaries if you can."
Wow.
Can you? And I said, "That's what I'm here for. I will help them." And
what was the about face?
I still don't know. But all I know is that he said, let me go get the room ready. And then I told my wife, okay, I guess we're staying. And he came back and got me and said, okay, room is ready. And I went in there, and there were 18 to 24 missionaries in there.
No.
He called them all of them. So
Get out of town.
and so I was able to teach them. A lot of people think that as soon as they run into any type of obstacle or problems or challenge, that's reason to just give up or back away. But had I done that, we wouldn't have been able to help all those missionaries who are now better prepared to help the people in Philadelphia that they were called to serve. And so fight through. I mean, everything we go through is designed to help us to grow and to develop more talents, and fight through every obstacle with love, and it can turn out to a beautiful benefit. So that was absolutely incredible. That was Philadelphia.
All right.
So great experience in Philly.
Okay. Wow. Whew. I just feel not exhausted. I just feel like, whoa.
Right.
It stinks being the guy on the other side of the microphone talking with you when you have awesome stories like this. Like, how do you follow that up? You know, like, what am I supposed to say?
Well, I'll tell
other than we're out of time and we gotta go and be the jerk that rains on the parade.
No,
you know,
you're fine. But we'll have another time to bring this parade. And next time we'll have to talk about
New Orleans.
in New Orleans, and the guy who came to rob me at gunpoint.
All right. So next week, that's a cliffhanger. Next week, New Orleans and the guy that came to rob Marvin at gunpoint.
Also have a mission president story there as well.
With the mission president story as well.
All right.
So like us, subscribe to the podcasts, send us an email, a tweet, however you want to get a hold of us, and we will we'll communicate.
But we thank you so very much for watching and for sharing and subscribing, and let's help as many people as we can. And it's beautiful that we have social media to be able to easily do it with a couple clicks of a button. But thanks again for watching. I'm Marvin Perkins.
I'm Cardon Ellis.
For Blacks in the Scriptures. We'll see you next time.